The second question came from a recent discussion on Facebook. This question raised the idea of safety of metal implements that have become rusted. A concern was raised that rust could present a risk to clients. So in this question, I'd like to talk about this. Why do metal implements rust, and is rust dangerous? Rust is a common concern, since many people grew up hearing stories about how rusty nails or other pieces of rusty metal can cause infections such as tetanus. That's a myth. Rust does not cause tetanus, nor does it cause any other type of infection. Tetanus is caused by a bacterial infection. If this bacteria gets deep into the skin, it can lead to a very serious infection. But this can happen just as easily with a rust-free nail. And some are infected by this bacteria by puncture wounds from thorns on bushes, such as rose bushes. Even so, rust is not a pathogen, and rust is not toxic. What is rust? The word itself comes from a German word for red. Around 1200 BC, iron began to replace bronze for the making of tools and weapons. Right around then, the Roman historian and philosopher Pliny the Elder hypothesized that the gods had created rust to limit the destructive power of iron weapons, which we now know is a very silly notion. Rust is caused by water and oxygen, which work together to oxidize iron into a substance called iron oxide. Rust is one type of iron oxide. Water is the main culprit that causes this oxidation process. Other metals can also oxidize. Copper and bronze, for instance, will form colored patinas on their surface because of oxidation. When iron rusts, the rust takes up more space or it occupies more volume, which causes it to expand. As this expansion occurs, the layers separate and they flake away from the surface. That creates pitting and more flaking, which leads to more rust formation in the newly exposed fresh metal surfaces that are now being exposed to this water and oxygen. This leads to the corrosion that's typically seen when metal rusts. Since steel is made mostly of iron, it's no surprise that steel implements are corroded by rust when exposed to water and oxygen, unless of course proper care is taken. That's why it's so important to completely dry all metal implements and keep them in a dry location. This will also prevent the growth of pathogens, since they require water to live. So keeping metal implements clean and dry has many benefits.